20th. Son of Monsterpalooza is now in its third and final day. I know, it's a bummer. But we'll be back in April with an even bigger show at the Pasadena Civic Center, so please come on out. On behalf of Monsterpalooza, I'm Tony Tafone, thanking you for your support of the show. How many members of the Hatchet Army do we have in the audience today? All right, that is so cool. To moderate the panel today is one of Hatchet's greatest supporters. He's a huge fan of the series and of Adam Green. He's also a good friend of mine. He's the editor of the #1 horror website, Dread Central. Let's give it up for Uncle Creepy Steve Barton.
Tony Timpone, ladies and gentlemen, come on! I cannot believe so many of you woke up this early. That's really cool. Before we get started, even though we had those wonderful video packages, let's hear it for everyone we lost so far. Toby, George, Bernie, Hazel. Louder, come on, let them hear it. Like half that, but they deserve it, okay? Now, it is really early. It's a Sunday morning, and we're all here. And I'm guessing, as Tony stated, there is a good contingency of the Hatchet Army here, right? I want to hear you guys really loud now, because I'm going to bring up some really cool people for you to get to talk to and hear bullshit, or basically I'm just going to say, hey, here's Adam, and he'll talk for 45 minutes. But, guys, Hatchet Army, let me hear you loud, baby. Joining me on the stage right now is the man who puts the blood and the violence and the gore that you guys love so much, an unsung hero of this entire franchise, Mr. Rob Pendergraft. Rob, man. He's some of the new cast is here with us. Mr. Dave Sheridan. And never mind Adam with these two cats. I'm here for one reason. They said I got to do a panel with 3 hot chicks. I'm like, okay. Miss Tiffany Shepis. Miss Laura Ortiz. And a personal favorite of mine, someone who makes this genre look damn good, Miss Felissa Rose. And of course, some guy named Adam Green. I'm gonna get comfy because it's Sunday, and I'm tired. Okay. Adam, you really pulled off something incredible. How many of you guys were really surprised that it wasn't like Hatchet that we were gonna go see, it was Victor Crowley? Yeah. Any of you guys there? Did you make it to the screening? Yeah. Okay, so then you gotta make sure you don't spoil shit for anybody. I lectured you on that night, remember? And nothing has come out, so I'm really happy about that.
How many people didn't go because they thought it was just going to be the first movie and are now really pissed?
Then I was like, wait, I was in that? Surprise.
That's the secret to it. I didn't tell you.
Adam, talk about keeping it quiet for so long. I mean, because it's not the usual thing. I mean, usually movies go out, there's promos start early, people start talking about it. Why the secrecy?
I think that a lot of movies get ruined now because there's like an announcement and then there's the casting announcement.
I'm guessing that was King Hotter. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, we just happen to have an extra seat.
My God, it's Kane Hodder, everybody.
right, guys, don't ruin that. No, I'm only kidding. So yeah.
Well, yeah, it's just there's the announcement about a movie, then there's the casting announcement, then there's like 50 set visits, and then there's 20 clips, and then there's 50 teaser posters, and then like by the time the fucking thing comes out, it's like, who cares anymore? So we've just been trying to do things a little more special. Now we tested this with Digging Up the Marrow. If you guys remember, we said it was an art documentary just so nobody would be interested in it. Like, if there's two words to get people to not care about what you're doing, it's art and documentary. And then when we suddenly showed it, and I would say to each audience, you can say if you loved it, you hated it, just don't say what happens or exactly what it is. And it kept the experience pure for people. So that's what we're trying to do with this. So for those of you who did get to see it when we first unveiled it, it means so much that the LA audience and the audience in London, 2 audiences in London so far, have not spoiled anything. Because the tour starts in 10 days or something, and it's gonna be like nightly, 2 shows in some cities, and hopefully everybody honors that. Because for you, all of you who haven't seen it yet, there's a lot of surprises within it, and the less you know, the better. But before we go any further, you came to see some gore, and if you've ever been to a Hatchet panel, I'm sure you guys hopefully have been coming to panels all weekend here. Everyone likes to tease or just show like a trailer. We always give you what you came for, so you're gonna see some shit right now, and don't spoil it, don't film it. Keep your phones down. Kane is watching. And when you see what he can do with a cell phone, you will be scared. So just to set this up, what you're about to see, the first scene involves 2 characters, Chloe and Alex. Chloe is played by Katie Booth. Alex is played by Chase Williamson, who you guys probably know from John Dies at the End and a ton of movies lately. They have just walked up to the remnants of the Crowley house. Now, for anybody who's been reading in the press the words reboot or remake, it's not. It's the 4th Hatchet movie. I don't know how that got all started and out of hand, but it's not a remake. And it's not a remake, it's not, what is the sequel this time? But they have just stumbled onto the Crowley property, which has now been turned 10 years later into basically a museum. So if you saw the 3rd one, you know the house got blown up, the remnants are still there, and the shed that is still there has certain items on display that were left over from the massacre of 2007. There's also a motion sensor light out front of it that turns on when there's motion. So this scene picks up after they have hidden inside the shed because they heard somebody screaming for their daddy in the woods. And then the second scene you're gonna see, the second scene takes place on an airplane that has crashed, and that's all I'm gonna tell you about that. But it's about 3 minutes of stuff, and if you like what you see, let us hear you. And again, do not point a fucking phone at the screen. Yeah, there you go. Let's do it.
That time of the
Holy shit, I have not seen 1 frame of this. That is fucking crazy. Oh my god, what a way to shut Melissa up.
So if you've been reading in the news that it's been getting standing ovations everywhere now, hopefully you're starting to see a little bit why. We needed this again, and that's why I did it again. The world is fucking terrible right now, and we need to laugh and get together and rally behind something. So leave the killing and the violence to that man.
Now, I just want to say that it was such a pleasure to fist Felissa on camera this time. It was amazing.
I knew you were trying to get up my skirt, but damn!
Felissa, what is it with, cinema and your genitalia over the years? That's, needed so many memorable parts involving your groin area.
Did we see my penis fall?
No, I missed it.
I don't know, but as soon as I read the script, I was like, what? That's fucking amazing! And I just loved, we had the best time shooting that. Rob was amazing. But getting chased by Victor Crowley, I mean, I was really hysterically crying. That was fucking scary as shit. Right?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun in games after the fact, but when we shoot, if you've ever watched the behind the scenes, we keep Kane as far away as possible. He has nothing to do with the actors, and so when it's your turn, it sucks. The very first is Jonah here? No, thought Jonah Ray was going to be here. When we shot the first time we shot on this movie with Kane, there were still a lot of the crew that was not entirely sure what we were doing, because the movie was called Arwen's Fancy Dinner, and then it was called Arwen's Revenge, just because we couldn't fit Fancy Dinner on the camera slate. And so a lot of people didn't know. In the first 2 days, we were in a hangar doing a lot of airplane stuff, and they saw Perry Shen, but who, you know, maybe I often use the same actors and stuff. So, but the first time that Kane came to set, usually what we do is we ask for silence. Sometimes we'll even dim the lights, and nobody is allowed to speak to whatever actor's about to get it. And at first they're like, okay, all right. And then after a while, it's like, it's not funny anymore. And then you hear him coming through the woods, just screaming as he's getting ready. And I mean, I'm scared, and I'm behind like 20 people on the monitor. And I'm like, you got this? But it does, I mean, the hard thing with these movies is threading the line between the comedy and the scares. But Victor Crowley's not funny. There's nothing funny about it, and as over the top as the kills are, but the cast is fucking hilarious. And I think I agree with all the reviews that have come out so far that say it, well, I mean, some of them are saying it's the best one yet, and a lot are saying it reminds them of the original in terms of the comedy, which is a great compliment. But as much as I've now mentioned the reviews twice, don't read the reviews. So many of them start with, I'm not gonna spoil a thing, and then they fucking spoil everything.
Hey man,
So,
mine was alright.
yours was okay.
You can read mine.
You can, actually that's true, you can't read Steve's.
Only need one review.
Just that's all you need. Now, Laura, this is very much your movie, and yeah, she gets a lot of action. So, you have this habit of taking these really smallish women and then making them fight him. I mean, that's kind of nuts, dude. But Laura, let's talk about that. I mean, here you are, you're really in the forefront now, and the movie's very much your movie. You know, it's your tale of where you start. You have a complete character arc, and you vomited really nice on screen. Let's talk about what you do in Victor Crowley, because you're the genesis, really, of the whole thing, without spoiling anything.
Oh God, so it's just amazing every time that I get to work with Adam and the people that Adam puts together, and I could not be more humbled to call him, you know, my best friend, as well as just like an amazingly talented director and writer that I get to work with, and the fact that he not only believes in me as an actress, but also to cast me against type and in so many different things. All I can really do is make sure that I do the work and have fun. And I don't know. I'm always like afraid. I don't want to like spoil anything or give anything away. So I don't want to get too detailed into the movie script and whatnot. Aside from, I guess, what I can say about my experience working with everybody here, who I love them all and I want to kiss everyone in the mouth at all times. And yeah, I mean, working for Adam is, if I had a gazillion dollars, I would just basically be like, here, Adam, take them and make things for all of us working.
Do you have a gazillion dollars?
Not yet, but I'm
Good
working on
business.
it.
That's good business. $1 billion.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm bad at words.
Laura, everybody.
And speaking of Laura, Laura's getting ready to get married. So what a
You're
year!
married next weekend.
Come on, married!
Right now, every dude's heart just broke.
But no, but she has until Saturday to do all that mouth kissing.
Yeah. Oh, it's not too late. Is that what you're saying?
The line
interesting
forms to the
thing
left at her table.
about Laura's character in this. So you just met Alex and Chloe, played by Chase Williamson and Katie Booth. Those two characters and Laura's character, Rose, I know it seems a little weird, she was on the plane. It all makes sense when you see how things unfold. But they are, Chloe is the director, Alex is her boyfriend who's gonna pretend to be an actor. Next time you see that clip, look at his shirt. There's an in-joke there. And then Laura is the makeup effects artist. And this is how we actually got Hatchet made. Now, in the movie, they're there 10 years after the events wanting to make a mock trailer to raise money to make a slasher movie called Hatchet Face. That was what Sarah Albert, Will Barrett, and I did originally. We went to New Orleans and we made a mock trailer, which is how we raised the money to make Hatchet. So it's a lot of life imitating art, or I guess, no, it's art imitating life.
It's meta, as the kids say.
Yeah, but only if you know. It's not the type of meta where you need to know to follow the movie or something. But for those of you who have followed the series, who know the stories, who've watched the behind the scenes, there's a lot of it that you'll hopefully be smiling at because you'll get where it came from.
Speaking of where it came from, Rob, what did you give her to throw up?
Really threw up.
These are the things I want to know.
What did you give me?
Rob has this habit, for you guys that don't know, for giving people the most vile concoctions in which to expel.
On Hatchet 1, because Joel David Moore's thing in that movie was he wanted to really throw up on camera because he had to come running in the shot and then land on his mark and vomit, and he didn't want to be running with his mouth full of something. So Robert's like, all right. And because Joel drank it. And what was it?
I gave him orange juice and clam chowder.
So Joel throws
Everybody
up.
try it.
And then everyone on the crew starts throwing up. And then Kane, not wanting to be outdone, drank KY and Mountain Dew and threw up in Joel's mouth. That shot when you see in the movie, Kane was supposed to. I know, right?
Where the hell did you get the KY from on set?
Well, it's all my trailer, but anyway. This is back when we had trailers. Yeah, how do you think Laura gets so many parts? But Joel was supposed to turn his head to the side, and it was going to be like an alien thing where the drool came out. And instead, when Joel was screaming, he just went for it. And Joel gargles it up, and everyone on the crew threw up again. It was like Stand By Me, and I'm just laughing, going.
So Tiffany, you've known Adam a long time, and he finally put you in a movie. Were you like, come on, Ray? I mean, really? Now?
Like, I think when I talked to Adam and I did Scary Sleepover was when I was like, oh, really, dude? Like, we obviously get along. I put makeup on you. It's funny. Like, I shouldn't be in one of these movies, but no, I don't know. I think like you just know so many people in the genre for so long that it's like, yeah, I hope they put me in something.
Well, you gotta wait for the right part. And when you see how great she is in this, because you've seen her do so much horror stuff, but this is like. And part of my pride in these films is when you get to take people that are known for being a scream queen or a horror icon and then give them a real part and let them show everybody what a great actor or actress they are and how funny they can be, how dramatic they can be. But I mean, in London, people were bawling like over in a Hatchet movie. I mean, it was good, but I knew you could do it. And
I'm gonna bring you to tears. I haven't seen any of this movie yet, so I don't know what the hell these are talking about. I may have been cut out completely, and
We're just kidding.
a big surprise. Like, surprise to me, you're not really in it. But no, I was super excited. And then, well, first it was, I think you can be in this, but this part's pretty demanding. That's all I'm gonna say. But Kane said, if anyone can do it, it's you. But then Kane calls me and he's like, look, it's gonna be really fucking hard. And I'm like, dude, you're freaking me the fuck out. He's like, you may actually die. I'm like, you're the stunt guy. Like, aren't you supposed to tell me everything's gonna be okay? And then he's like, don't worry, I'll be there the whole time holding your hand. I never saw that.
You never saw anybody though.
No, so without giving anything away, I was filled with a lot of confidence. And then it was by myself. But yeah, you guys were there for me. But it was awesome. And then I heard that all of these fools were in this movie, and I couldn't have been happier to be a part of it. And it was cool, it was great. And I can't wait to see it. Like, I am more excited than everybody here, because I'm like, I really don't know anything about this movie.
She's the only one in the movie who hasn't seen it yet, because she wasn't in town when we did the unveiling.
And in the predicament I'm in the movie, I also didn't get to see a lot of people. So just use your imagination. So I don't really know what they were doing.
Your character is pretty tortured in the movie. Were you like, thanks, Adam, you finally put me in a movie and now there's this?
Yeah, I was like, dude, why do you hate me? This is super mean, but no, I couldn't have been happier. It's super exciting, super cool. I can't wait to see it.
And know this too, when you see it, she did not complain once through the entire shoot, not a single, even just a...
Okay, yes,
little
applause
bit.
for that. An actor that's happy for their job.
When you see it, you'll be like, oh shit. I mean, like, she is a trooper, but that's why I knew she could do it, because she's a veteran. She's been in, what, 8,000 movies? Like, 9,000.
It's only because I thought Kane was actually going to be there holding my hand. It's the only reason I was like, he's here, right? Like, there's a camera somewhere. We just told her he was Hello? Anyone? Meanwhile, they're all on lunch. And I'm maybe trapped somewhere.
We did talk about how guilty we felt as we were standing, having hot coffee in between scenes, and you couldn't come. We'd be like, man, our thoughts are with you.
You know, I
We were by the heater. You think she's okay? Yeah, she's okay. Bring those snacks over here. She's tough. She's got this.
Adam did talk to me at one point, and Adam goes, so the rest of the cast is really concerned about you. Are you okay? Like, they keep coming at me. I'm like, they just want attention. It's not like, what the fuck do they care? They would come over to check on me.
Thank you for bringing this up.
Get on set.
There's a thing that happens with actors when they get together where their actoriness comes out more. And so it became a contest of who could be more concerned for Tiffany. So the moment she went into the water, 3 seconds, and I think it was cue. It was like, okay, man, I think she's had enough. That's it. I'm like, dude, she just got in. She's not even
like, yo, I
in.
think
And everyone's
she's
like,
had
that's it. She's out. Dude, it's, no, I'm really worried about her. No, I am more worried about her. I'm having a panic attack right now. I need to call my doctor. And it was just like, and Tiffany never complained once, but that was what I had said to the actors on day one. I'm like, if your feet are cold or anything, before you complain to Tiffany first. And then it stopped there.
It was hard for Tiffany to complain because her lips were blue and she was going. I think that's kind of a complaint.
I was complaining the whole time. Yeah, they just couldn't understand.
We didn't have Morse code.
Yeah, but I was like, wow, dude, thanks for the pressure. Like, I think I went home that day and I told my husband, I was like, yeah, so I don't think you gave the speech about, like, don't complain. And I'm like, fuck, that's a lot of pressure on me, like, to be the strong one here.
Now, one of the things that make the Hatchet film such a memorable franchise is Jesus is talking. Okay, he's a Hatchet fan.
Bingo!
So one of the things that makes these films so wonderful and enduring, and why they've garnered such a fan following, is because Adam really goes out of his way to make sure that he fills his movies with characters that you care about and characters that you can relate to. And there's always, in every movie other than Parry Shan, one other really funny guy who everyone kind of focuses on, and he really brings a lot of life to the role. And Dave Sheridan.
I was wondering where you're going with that. You said Adam was characters you care about. And I was like, why was I in the movie? Oh, I'm the guy. I'm that guy.
That guy.
So let's talk about, without giving away, your character is very memorable for a lot of reasons. Your character, let's talk about it. What can we say about his character that's not a spoiler?
I mean, I don't think any of it's necessarily a spoiler, but I mean,
I won't spoil the end. But what do you want to say?
Everyone dies.
whatever you want.
Well, I play, okay, so like he said, the swamp is now sort of a museum tour type of thing, so I play a swamp tour guide that takes people out and gives them the little, you know, the Jaws ride at Universal Studios. I'm the guy that's on the boat with the fake gun and shooting things, and I take them out on the swamp tour, and I don't know how I got wrapped into the adventure, but I become a part of it, but I'm working the swamp, so. But I'm a wannabe actor, so I guess that's self-fulfilling right there. And so when the film crew comes, they hire me to take them out to the location where the murders really happen, and I do it they lie to me and say they're going to give me a role in the movie, so.
Which is kind of what we really did.
Yeah.
But the thing about this character, again, like just like when Laura was talking about casting against type, like I mean, I've been friends with Dave for years,
Yeah.
but I've seen him in so many Wayans Brothers things, like a scary movie, and as Deputy Doofus, which we did a panel like this at Rockman Shop. When we do Holliston panels, we always, if you've ever seen one, I think when we did the Holliston panel here was more about the effects of the show, but normally we would perform, and we would like actually do an episode that I wrote specifically for that convention, and then there would be guest star parts for like a guy from the audience and a girl from the audience, so they could come up and read with us. But one year, we did auditions at Rock and Shock, where you could choose which part in the show you wanted to audition for and who you wanted to read against, and then there were sides for you, so you could come up. And so people could be like, I want to read for Adam's part, because anybody could do better. And so they'd come up and be like, I want to read against Laura or Corey. But anyway, for the improv, I knew that Dave was in the audience, and I was going to have him come up to read with whatever fan got on stage. I didn't know he was going to be in the full Doofy outfit.
Yeah, I surprised him. I dressed as full Doofy at this convention in the audience. So when he's like, I think we have somebody else out there, and I just came running up as Doofy and stayed in character the whole time.
The whole time.
Scared the hell out of almost everybody.
Yeah, but this role, Dylan, in this movie, he has a ton of heart, and he always is trying to do the right, selfless thing for everybody, which in the end, the end. But I always knew he could do that. It's like, yeah, he's hilarious, but let him show his dramatic side, let him show the heart, and he fully delivered in ways I could have only hoped for. So thank you.
Yeah.
There you go.
Is that your brother out there?
Yeah, probably.
Daddy?
He's looking at the fantasy football right now. No, and that's the thing, is I wanted to work with him for so long, so when he called and said, I've got a role in mind, and I specifically wrote it for you, and I think that's, when I got and I met everyone, and then we saw the roles, I really feel like you probably already had in mind the actors that you wanted in the film, and that's what really comes out, is we're so well suited for the roles that we're playing, so.
Which is funny, there's one, or I guess several comments online that are like, mentioning that I have such an ethnically diverse cast, and what a smart choice, like, those are my friends, like, but that's how it should be. It shouldn't be, well, you have to have the black girl, you gotta have the Asian guy, you gotta have the, like, it should just be natural, and hopefully we get to that point where it isn't so whitewashed anymore. But if people want to give me credit for that, fine, but it was not intentional at all, it just was the way it went.
And the right people for the job.
Exactly.
Which is something we've all learned from Romero, and we continue to learn that. Now, Rob, you have a long history with Adam, and Adam has had you create some really fucked up things, I guess, for lack of a better term. Has there ever been anything where you're like, all right, that's a little too much?
I think we just showed it.
No, but what is it like? I mean, let's go through the planning of the kills with Adam, and what Adam wants to happen, and what you can make happen. I mean, what is that like? Is it like a session, like how are we killing this one? How are we killing that one?
Well, yeah, I mean, when we're talking about any of the movies, Adam and I usually talk about something, and he'll have an idea for something that he wants to do. He'll be like, oh, we want to do this, rip someone's head off or something like that, and then we'll just talk about it and see how much we can sweeten the deal onto it as far as just doing the effects on it goes and being practical about it at the same time. But usually, with the collaboration process on it, that's usually what ends up coming down, and, all of our minds think really sick together. And,
Well, he has such a hard job because of my whole no CGI rule with these. I mean, that makes these things immensely more complicated. And some of them, like in 2, which 2 still has some of the most elaborate ones we'll ever do. But the chainsaw kill with 2 guys being suspended in the air on a 6-foot chainsaw and cut in half without using any CG or digital was incredibly hard, but he always figures it out. And I think one of his secret weapons is his girlfriend, Christy, who's here in the audience. Surprise! No, she's right there.
Another surprise! It's out of control! Everyone look up their seat. We see car keys.
We knew she was here, you didn't.
So says a lot about your opening.
Yeah, I can't talk any smack about her now.
Now, the man of the hour, Kane Hodder, guys. Here's somebody that took a character that was very well known and he created his own character from it. I mean, when anyone thinks of Jason Voorhees, nobody's thinking of the other ones. And even though the other ones were good actors and good stuntmen, Kane is the one responsible for really bringing Jason Voorhees to life. And, you play one iconic character in your career and you're like, wow, I mean, I just played an iconic character. That's it, you know, what else am I gonna do? But then here comes Victor Crowley and he becomes an icon. I mean, you go to the stores, go to the Halloween stores, there's Jason masks, there's Freddy masks, and there's Victor Crowley masks. And that's pretty amazing. So let's talk about bringing another icon to life for you and what that was like.
Well, of course, I loved playing the Jason character, and I was pissed off when I was replaced and never given a reason. And it's fine to replace me, but at least tell me what you're thinking. And I never did get a reason for it. So that was kind of a tough situation. And then Adam came along and said he has the next new iconic type killer. And I was like, oh man, I've heard that one before. But we had a lunch meeting, and you could tell by talking to the guy that he was going to deliver on what he said. So I was happy to be a part of it. Of course, I love the character now, and the thing that's so different between these films and the Friday ones is that even though I love playing the Jason character, the scenes in between on the Friday films tended to be boring. And you didn't really care, you just wanted to get to the next kill sometimes. And with the Hatchet films, it's not like that at all. And it's, you know, very violent, and the killer is pretty cool and stuff, but it's the other characters that make these movies so good. And so they have to be written properly. And of course, Adam does that. And then the casting, even more important. And every film we've done, the whole success of the Hatchet film has been because of people like these. Because they take their character and make it fun to watch. Because there's no reason you can't have comedy in a horror film in between, you know, the scary stuff. So it just makes it much more fun to watch. And when you work with quality actors that bring their characters to life like these people do in all the past films, that's what really makes the movie. I mean, I think I do a decent job killing people, but you have to have a supporting cast of characters, not even supporting really, but you have to have characters that people care about, and that is what's so good about these movies. And I just feel very proud to be a part of them, that's all.
Do we have any questions out there? Raise your hands if you do. All right, never mind. All right, right there. Stand up.
For Laura and Adam, I guess, for Laura's character, is she actually a continuation of the character part 2, just 10 years older?
So the question is Laura's character in this a continuation of her character from part 2? No. Yes. And if you go back and watch part 2, in the very beginning, Jack Cracker finds Doug Shapiro's video camera and starts watching it. And you see, if you remember from the first film, his real name was Samuel Barrett. He was a school teacher, but he pretended to be a producer to get girls to take their clothes off for him. And he was just a sleazy dirtbag. And on his tape, you see all these other girls, and at one point, he is walking up to a girl who is way too young in a playground and trying to get her to lift her shirt up, and she turns around and says, "Do it, I'm 14. That was Rose. So yes, and I'm glad you caught that. Only a few people have caught that so far.
One of my favorite things, and I think I said this to you, I remember I said it to you when you did the shorts for American Eagle, which is one of the best things about being, I think, an Adam Green fan and following his stuff, is that when you know his work, every project or any little thing that comes out after that is so much fun, because everything, whether it's something on the wall or a line or whatnot, is a callback to something else that he's done. So you definitely are sort of a part of this little family and you have your own inside jokes that you only get it if like you follow everything else that you've done. I remember watching that with the premiere of the little shorts, and I was thinking how fun, and I wonder if everyone else is having as much fun as I am, because I recognize so many little things and lines that he said, and it's so cool even now to see how he plants things throughout the career for like the fans to catch.
It's hard too, because sometimes I'm thinking so far ahead. We knew we were going to make Hatchet 2 when we shot Frozen, and so I already had planned to show what happened with, hopefully this isn't spoiling it for anybody, but in Hatchet 2, it's very quick, it's just on the TV in the background, but you see that Parker, Emma Bell's character, got this massive settlement for what happened to her on the ski mountain. And the reason why it works, I think, is that you don't have to have seen the other stuff. It's not about the callbacks. It's just for you. If you're a fan, you'll catch it and hopefully appreciate it. But you don't have to know what the things are. It isn't all about the callbacks. It isn't like hitting you in the face constantly. But usually all that stuff kind of takes place in the beginning of a movie. And there's a lot in this one that tie in the other films and stuff. But when I was coming up with the characters for this one, I was thinking about like, who have we just seen like a glimpse of, and what are they doing now? There's even I know that was I shouldn't forget it. Alright, so as you know, my character was one of the friends who didn't go on the swamp tour in the first one because he wanted to keep drinking. And the second one, you see the next morning he's throwing up all over the street, and the third one he's now been arrested for being drunk. I think that that dude cleaned up his act, and 10 years later is doing something very responsible. We'll leave it at that. We'll find out.
Not very much sure about that.
Not his fault. It's not his fault.
Any other questions out there? Right back there. Stand up, please.
I was wondering, what's your writing process or creative process and credit takes like Victor Crowley for any of the films?
What's my writing process specifically for creating Victor Crowley?
Yeah, or for any of your films.
For any of them. Well, it usually it starts with a much bigger idea. It's usually not just something small, which is why a lot of writers will say every day you get up and you write for 6 hours. Even if it's not good, you do that and you condition yourself. I don't subscribe to that. I'll go months sometimes without writing, and I wait until I have to do it and I've seen the whole movie in my head, and then I can usually write pretty quickly. It's the process, I mean, where the ideas come from, I don't really know. This was summer camp when I was 8 years old, and really the name Victor Crowley was just something I made up. It sounded scary to me. There was a kid in my class whose last name was Crowley, I think, and he was a nice kid, like Crowley, I don't know, but Victor Crowley, it just sounded good. But the counselors had said, stay away from this one cabin or Hatchet Face will get you. Hatchet Face is just what you call an ugly person, I guess, back in the 80s. And so I was already into this shit. So when the other kids, when we were going to sleep that night, they're like, do you think Hatchet Face will get us? Because they had nothing else for their story. It was just where they were going to party. So they're like, don't go near this. And so I made up the story just as it is now, basically. And I sat on it forever, and I used to tell my teachers, I'm going to go to Hollywood someday, I'm going to make the Victor Crowley movie. And the original script for Hatchet was called Victor Crowley until 2003. It changed to Hatchet. And but as far as the process with creating a villain goes, I think the most important thing is sympathy. First off, because you go back to the greatest of all time, which is the Frankenstein monster, and he didn't ask for that. He didn't mean for it to be there, and yet he's persecuted. And for Victor Crowley, it was the mistake of his father. It was his father's sin, cheating on his sick wife and getting another woman pregnant, and then the sick wife putting this voodoo curse on him that caused all this. And that is also, for the heroine of the first three films, Mary Beth, she is also paying for her father's sin. It was her father, played by Robert Englund, who was one of the kids who set the house on fire by mistake and caused the accident that killed Victor Crowley. So knowing all along that that's where it was going to build with that first trilogy, and that in the end they would stand off and have an understanding of each other, which was so wonderful when fans got it. When Kane and Danielle were both just facing each other, and it's the only time that Kane speaks on screen, and he looks at the urn and he's trying to understand, and he says, Daddy, as like a question, and he understands now that his father's dead and that he's dead and he's not supposed to be there, and then the two of them kill each other. So it was, that's what makes it, I think, good. You can have all these great kills, you can have a cool look, you can have a cool mask. We've seen all those, there's slasher movies every 5 minutes, but the ones that stand out, there's something else. And I think Kane's really had a great experience doing these conventions. A lot of times you get to meet soldiers, burn victims, disabled people who relate to these characters, not because they're gonna kill somebody or the violence. If there's something else that there's an understanding there. And I couldn't fully appreciate it until I started doing the conventions back in 2005 or whatever, but you see it all the time, and there's nothing like that feeling, which is why when someone wants to try to say, oh, your movie sucks, you suck, people they can never take that away from you. And it just doesn't matter. Incidentally, if you ever see Ed Wood, there's the critic who apparently gives him like a terrible review, and his name is Victor Crowley. I had never seen Ed Wood when I was 8 years old. It hadn't been made yet when I came up with his name, but I think that that's pretty funny that Victor Crowley gave Ed Wood this horrible review.
Did he answer your question? I'm not even sure. All right, guys, we're wrapping up, but there's one thing I want to say before I turn it over to Adam for last words, because I know he has something planned, but Laura touched on something really important, and that's that the Hatchet family and the Hatchet crew and the Hatchet fans, we're all in this together, you know? If it weren't for you guys, none of us would be up on this stage and talking about this and celebrating, so give yourselves a hand.
One second, if you would. I just wanted to say I was never scheduled to be here because it was my son's back to school weekend at Vanderbilt University, so that was already planned. I unfortunately had to come back this morning because I have to go to a funeral this afternoon. A friend of mine's father died, so I took the opportunity. I can't let these guys have fun without me, so I had to come here and say hello. I have to rush out right away, but I just wanted to be a part of it because I am proud to be a member of this family.
Laura has to get to her bridal shower, which is happening in like 5 minutes. But the rest of us are going to be signing. Now, the poster is not made yet for this film. Like, that's how early you're seeing stuff. It's not going to be ready probably for a few more weeks. So Dark Sky put something together to send for us to sign for you. It's really just a tour poster with like half the dates or a quarter of the dates. And I know it's not probably what you were hoping for, something with Victor on it. So just to try to make up for that, I just opened the box last night and saw what they had sent. It's not the greatest poster in the world. We're all gonna sign it for you. But I also brought some vintage stuff that we still have in storage, Digging Up the Marrow posters and Holliston posters to give away too. So, because just like you guys always go home with something cool. So please come over and say hi. We're happy to sign anything, take pictures, whatever you need. We came for you. So thank you guys so much.